Climbing a mountain is not something I ever plan to do in my life, although I have surmounted a large number of obstacles, physical and mental. The magnitude or the scale of certain obstacles prevent a lot of people from attempting them, or if they happen to find the courage to try, they're sometimes unable to give it their all. Sometimes we fall short and sometimes we try and just fail. Most of us get back up and try again, well, sometimes. Some of us settle for where we are. That's also okay. But if you can get over that massive, seemingly impassable blockade in front of you, it can allow you to be free, allow you to feel accomplished, fulfilled, and possibly happy. Cairn is a game that struck so many chords with me, and it's tough to put it into words. Ava is our main character who has many flaws, and most of them I can relate to. We never learn all of the details of any of the characters within the game, but over the course of reaching the top of the mountain, we discover that Ava is someone who struggles with a large amount of weight that she alone places upon her own shoulders, along with also a little bit of weight that others stack up on her as well. But with that in mind, this is going to be my review of Cairn, a game that might be one of the most thought-provoking games that I've probably ever experienced. And I seem to be stacking these up lately, which I will never complain about because, man, games are fucking good. Now, getting into this review, just like many of my previous ones, we will be talking spoilers. Most of this game is an experience, so seeing some of the climbs, the environments, and so on are mostly considered spoilers. I'll be showing and talking about a lot of these directly, along with most story plot points. Out of all the games I've ever reviewed, I truly mean it. When it comes to this game, get out there and actually try this one. There is a demo available. Play it for yourself to really determine how you feel about it. But if you're willing to stick with me as I try my best to piece together my thoughts about Cairn, then let's get right into it. Starting the game off at the main menu, when you go to begin, you're met with a warning. And by that I mean you're presented with 3 options for difficulty. Explore, which is a lighter challenge for players seeking a more story-driven experience. You know, basically easy mode. Then you have Alpinist, which is normal base difficulty with a balanced challenge. But then we arrive to the 3rd and final difficulty. The option before you is a little bit torn up and covered in blood, showing a broken rope indicating your broken psyche when you attempt to play this mode. The Explorer option has a nice and clean background and solid lines, and the Alpinist is a little messed up but not too bad. Yet they want you to know that before you even look at free solo, it is only for the insane. Once you hover it, the sky goes from a beautiful blue-soaked scene to a bloodshot red sky with rain and lightning and thunder all over the place. This option is scary. Climbing a mountain in real life is also scary, as the mode's kind of indicating. You can't just magically use a baton and recover all of your stamina. You can't respawn. You die and it's over. Accessibility options are off the table here as well. I, for one, did not select this mode, and you will not find me doing so. I don't think I'll ever attempt to do something this difficult in a game. Permadeath is just not something that I've sought after or wanted from a game ever really. But for those crazy enough, you know what? It's there for you. But drawing a direct parallel for the difficulty presented in this moment when you first boot up the game, we have the story. Our main character Ava begins by saying, "All I ever wanted was to touch eternity for an instant, to reach one of these rare moments of bliss where everything seems in its place, and you feel you're part of a whole." We then quickly change scenes to see her stretching out on the floor, speaking to her climbing robot companion that she was unassumingly calling Climbot, because, well, that's what it is. It's a bot that helps her climb. She tells the robot to go ahead and answer a call that's coming through because this climbing bot also acts as a cell phone, sort of. So as we learn in these first opening seconds, this robot is a pretty useful tool. It's basically a phone, a climbing utensil, a little robot companion, all shoved into one. The man on the the phone who begins talking to you starts referencing how you're going to be the first human to climb to the top of Mount Kami. And then we're pretty much set free to begin practicing our climbing in this facility that lay before us. Throughout your time playing Cairn, you'll get snippets into our main character like this, where Ava is not the most likable person. She's pretty serious most of the time, does things on her own terms, and isn't great at communication of any kind, really. We see this with the way that she reacts to people attempting to call her or when she meets other people during her journey. But Ava is what made this game for me. Yes, the climbing is stressful and exhilarating. I love the environments and overcoming the challenges, but Ava was so representative of so many emotions that I've experienced that, boy, did it make me feel something. This journey begins with what seems like a relatively simple choice to climb to the top of a mostly insane and deadly and pointless mountain. Many have tried and everyone has failed. Either you will die trying or you turn back and live with that same failure. As we come to learn, Ava is one of the most renowned climbers in the world. She also has contracts with photography companies to take pictures of her climbs. She has a loving partner who constantly reaches out to check on her, but Ava just pretty much ignores all of it. Allowing every single call to go to voicemail, living in the moment is what this entire thing is about. My interpretation since the very start was that this climb was gonna be her last. Ava wants to reach the summit for her own reasons, and as selfish as they might be, it's her life, and that's gonna be how she chooses to bring it to an end. Ava knows that you're either gonna die trying or you're gonna reach the top, and more than likely not come down. We meet multiple people along the way who almost seem like different versions of what Ava could become. Maybe a crazy person in a cave who will probably never leave after he lost his mind. And he also killed some people. An exciting and skilled climber who chats it up with her along the way, and we will talk more about Marco later. Maybe a tranquil woman who lives with goats who is content with being happy, although everyone including her partner has left. Or even the older man who's at the very end of the game who was a veteran climber that went missing some time ago. He decided upon reaching this point at the bottom of the hardest part of the summit to help those who still want to continue, or help those who choose to turn away due to their lack of confidence or skill. These are all emotions inside of Ava that are represented in the people around her. She sought this challenge, but also the end. Facing these emotions along the way through the people she interacts with leads up to a final choice. After seeing these different people, what they've become, the choices that they've made, but as we're reaching the end, we come to understand Ava for the most part, and we're given the option to continue the pointless and daunting task of climbing literal ice spikes, or you can turn back. Understand that this is the final hurdle, but also where most previous climbers have met their end, leaving their backpacks in a cave to represent their final resting place. And what a representation that it shows. We see the rooms just filled with countless numbers of backpacks with items and tools and journals. All of this, along with the bodies that we see, skeletons that are dangling upon ropes where the climbers chose the wrong path, or slipped somewhere on the way up, only to perish in their attempts. Marco, who we've seen a handful of times on our journey, is a young man who is pretty talented. He's chatty and down to earth, trying to make conversation with Ava, maybe get to know her a little since she's famous, but she does not want to engage in conversation or create a friendship in any way. She pushes him away and makes rude comments, telling him to shut up on the regular. His views on the climb are very different from hers. He's sprightly, encouraging, and lighthearted, but he's not without his flaws. He's also not as motivated and has a full mental break where he decides that it is not worth it to continue and wants to return to the bottom of the mountain, defeated and broken. He understands that it's better than never coming down at all and dying there. So Marco tries to reason with us, and after all we've seen, the communities of people who realize that survival on Kami is near impossible, even after generations of families finding a way, so many bodies have been found along our way up. We know that this is the inevitable possibility, but we keep going. Marco is the last bastion of hope, the final idea of giving up. It's time to come to our senses, stop seeking death, and embrace life, even at the cost of failure. He's made his choice. Now you have to make yours. If you choose to go with him, the game ends. pretty abruptly. You're seen descending with Marco, and then the credits roll, with a very small cutscene afterwards where Ava is in her apartment with her partner talking about people coming over to hang out. It goes to show just how simple of a choice it could have been all along. To just return to normal everyday life and give up on what we sought after, but it will haunt you until the end of days. And even though it's only for a moment in this very small cutscene, we see this plainly across Ava's face, indicating that yes, this was the wrong ending. And as much as you can attempt to understand or relate to the story, unless you've had some similar hardships of your own and maybe kept pushing forward even though at your own detriment in some cases, it can be tough to relate to a character such as her. But in the other ending that you choose, where you decide to keep climbing, either by evaluating the risk and determining it's the path you still wish to take, or out of a sense of pride to just accomplish it, or maybe just a death wish, you make this choice to finish the journey with our angry, pensive, and sometimes emotional character. But as we begin to ascend these large, giant death spikes facing us head on, Marco leaves to go down the mountain. And I know this because I actually started the climb and went a very small ways up just to see how difficult it would be. Then I tried to return to see what Marco was doing, and he was nowhere to be found. It then made my choice plainly clear that I was on my own. This final culmination of ideas and choices make it extremely clear I have to reach the top, no matter the cost. So we begin again, climbing through the harshest parts of the mountain and past bones and backpacks of previous risk takers who failed to make it, sometimes not making it more than just a few dozen feet from the safety of the ground. This climb is hard, and I mean really fucking hard. On previous climbs, I had to guess kind of where to go, failing slightly and being able to recover, but this section had me absolutely losing it because the grip on my controller as I continued to sweat through my palms was failing me. My mental fortitude as I contemplated giving up on playing the game, just as Marco had done on climbing the mountain. It was pretty rough, but I stuck it out, and after multiple failures, I finally made it to the top. Ava's hands continue to bleed, the sheer cliff faces in front of us that are basically just a vertical rock, with the smallest handholds or cracks to latch onto. A choice then comes up as we're reaching the very top of the mountain. We're not there quite yet, but we can see it. It's almost right there. But the choice that we're given is that our robot companion, the only little guy that has stuck with us from the start, we've of course had him for a very long time, and of course he doesn't have much choice in the matter, but he's stuck with us ever since the beginning. On one precarious section, he breaks down, and I never expected to have a narrative choice such as this, or even throughout my entire time of playing this game. But once our little guy is broken down, we can either cut him loose to finish the climb, or we can try to carry him, adding to our fatigue and weight overall, making it more difficult to finish what we came for. And as I said before, we have to make it to the top, no matter the cost, right? But for me, there was no choice. I had gone this far and done this much with him. He was coming with me. I don't care if I died. If he wasn't there with me at the end, what was the point? And I say he, but our robot guy doesn't speak, he doesn't have any idea of emotions or feelings. Throughout our entire journey, we interact with him, he doesn't interact in response, but we ask him to return our stakes and pitons that we have, maybe climb alongside us to ensure our safety a little bit, but he never asks for anything in return. Hell, he can't fucking speak if he wanted to. But yet somehow, out of everyone, he has stuck it out with us. He's been there, at our side, supporting us, and now he's gonna see us to the end. Since we are still climbing, we can't necessarily climb down to grab him, so he is kind of just dangling there as we reach the top. But as soon as we do, we pull him up and we reach down and we grab him, we put him on our back, and then we slowly make our way to the tippy top of Kami. We carry him the remainder of the way as we finally collapse to our knees, letting out the most guttural scream that Ava has done it. She's reached the top, her final resting place. Because as she looks out upon the stars, she begins climbing those as well, a representation of her ascending into the sky after death. She slowly climbs each individual star, but as we go, you get faster and faster, to a point that we start to rocket off of each individual one, becoming a shooting fucking star, going higher and higher into the sky. Because, well, this is the end of Ava. She's going out with a fucking bang. So Cairn hit me like a truck. I finished it and I just kind of sat there for a minute, not knowing what to think or feel. I finished it and then I reflected on it quite a bit. I actually beat the game about 2 months ago from the time of writing this review, and it will be in my favorite games of this year. It made me reflect on life, which is something that I don't necessarily look for in games, but sometimes it just kind of happens. But before we move on from the story, I do want to mention some small things that I passed over. We do get journals and logs and other methods of storytelling throughout the journey, other climbers as well, and people who just happen to reside on the mountain. They maybe tell us their story or the story of a civilization that once used to live there. There is a rich history that lies on Kami, and I was glad to read every note and talk to every character. There is literally writing on the walls, decorations adorning homes, statues, and the like across the entire mountain. It really gives the mountain a sense of place. An extremely similar game to this is Jusant, but with very drastically different gameplay, but it does have similar story beats. One of the best aspects of Jusant was the world building and how they showcased those who came before, and seeing how similar the story structure and cutscenes that really allowed these characters to come to life is what made this game that much better for me. We get some phone calls and voicemails that allow us to understand more of Ava specifically, whether it be her partner talking about their home and cat, which has a trippy sequence later on in the game, or her employer who is trying to give her a hard time about meeting a deadline. There is a world down below, but we mostly ignore it, getting minor glimpses into it, but understanding that the reason why is because all of Ava's focus is on what lies in front of her, not behind. God damn, I fucking love this game. But alright, let's move on from the story. Let's spend the next bit talking about gameplay, because that's the second biggest element here, I feel. Another choice that you can technically make at the very beginning is to just stay in the training area, mastering and learning from every single obstacle in the building, preparing you for the climb ahead. I did the most basic tutorial section that they do require you, and then I moved on to the climbing of Kami, but you technically could just stay here. I had a friend who spent a few hours here and then climbed a little bit more afterwards and then kind of put the game down and never went back. They tested themselves in that training area and that was it for them. But once you choose to ascend, you've left the comfort of safety and you're into the wild. Survival is key, so there are a few systems that you're required to manage, and the basic ones are food and water, but then there's also exhaustion, or kind of like stamina, and temperature. Temperature is fairly straightforward, but can be deadly later in the game as you come close to freezing to death. Exhaustion or stamina is where you sprint, you take a little bit of damage, but if you become too exhausted and take too much damage, then you pass out. Stamina more specifically is similar to that, but more specific to climbing, right? Your limbs and body can handle holds differently, but if you've got a solid grasp on something, you're pretty golden and you can catch your breath, but if you don't, then Ava begins shaking and breathing heavy, showing that she is losing strength and about to let go. This will lead you to falling and smashing onto the ground, or dangling from your rope the last time that you used a baton for safety, which of course you should be using on the regular, so these meters that you have are mostly easy to manage. You eat some food, drink some water, either directly out of your backpack or by setting up a camp. You can repair some batons there, you can warm up drinks or cook larger dishes. If you cook or warm things up, these do have timers on them of course, and they will allow you to stay warm sometimes to help with the temperature checks, but make sure that when you're climbing not to choose a section that is too risky or strenuous, or you might just fall and lose progress or hurt yourself. And speaking of losing progress, the game has a pretty generous save system. Normally these save spots are located on the ground where you can camp, but other times they're on the side of a cave or a cliff wall, which is a little bit precarious, but you can also set up a tent when dangling from these and rest or recover near these as well. One thing that I want to mention here that is kind of a dickhead thing that the developers made was they made the timer pop up since the last time that you saved just kind of randomly happened. You will be 15 minutes into a very difficult climb that you have fallen multiple times to, and you're maybe just a few couple of inches away from safety. But then the developer just flashes on screen, 27 minutes since last save. It's like, why? You're a dickhead. It was very funny. It made me laugh on occasion because I'm like, man, I have fallen or I've died or I've been really trying on this section here, and then you're just gonna flash up to like jump scare me like 20 or 15 or however long it's been since I last saved, and that's a dickhead move, but also very funny, so good on you. But outside of that, the developers, they know their shit about climbing, because I personally do not know a lot, but I've learned little bits here and there through osmosis over the years, and boy, do they do a hell of a job at implementing these super nuanced things about climbing. Something as small as taping up your hands, because you'll be hurting your fingers and your hands along the journey, which will cause you to lose grip over time. So you gotta keep tape on hand and use it regularly to help keep the damage to a minimal, renewing your grip by not causing further damage. And we've got most of the elements covered here when it comes to managing, saving, and recovering and such, but there's a few more that I haven't talked about yet, so let's get into those. And the biggest one is gonna be the actual climbing. Okay, so starting off, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, okay? I was moving so slow, I was hoping not to fall, and just doing anything and everything that I could to stick to the wall like fucking Spider-Man, in hopes to just not plummet and die. Meaning that if I took it slow and steady and I used a ton of pitons, or I chose the safest route, then that would do. But with these thoughts in mind, I still played the game on normal difficulty, and climbing was still not easy. At the end of the game, you also get a recap, and just to tell you mine, I fell 65 times and I died 20. And apparently I used a single rewind, which I think is a certain item that you get in the game, but I think I did this just to see how the mechanic worked, but I didn't know how it would affect my final information. I didn't use any sort of assist modes or anything like that, so without using assist and falling or dying a good number of times, I can tell you that it's a pretty difficult game. Understanding where to grab, what is safe, or your weight distribution, maybe slanted rocks compared to cracks and how they're gripped, it taught me so much about this sport or this extreme event, whatever you want to call it, that I otherwise would never learn. And by the end of the game, I was no longer a timid climber just getting the hang of it. I was zooming up every single section that I came across. I did have to take my time on occasion, or fought with specific sections, which is probably where half of my deaths came from, of course, but I had such a good time doing it. Finding that specific spot where it's safe to shake your limbs loose to recover some stamina, determining that if I hold my weight in a very specific way, even on the exact same rock structure, then it can change how I manage the climb. And it's fucking fantastic. Cairn also made my hands sweat a lot. Like, I mean really, like never before. I have never came across a game or a situation that quite literally made my hands sweat like this. I do happen to, on occasion, do a weird thing where I like lick my lips a little bit when I'm focusing on something or I'm trying really hard, but my hands sweating, that has never happened in my entire life, except when playing this game. I don't know if it's the sense of adrenaline that got pumped into my veins of making it past specific hurdles, or just the stress of trying and trying just to fail again. But when first playing it, I really did get a sense of, wow, I think this game is what Death Stranding was meant to feel like. But it just didn't, and it couldn't. One note about the movement as well before we move on is that the selection of limbs is automatic, and the game can sometimes be a bit off with this when you wish that it would choose a specific one, but instead it kind of randomly cycles through the other three somehow. It does a really good job most of the time, selecting the right arm or the leg, allowing me to climb with ease. And luckily there is a way to manually select a specific limb, although this is pretty precarious to do in situations that are ill-advised, where you are dangling from somewhere or about to fall. But in my opinion, it gets the job done when the automatic system fails, so you can kind of rely on that manual selection when you need to. And it's rare when it does fail, but I did want to bring it up. So next up is going to be graphics. And honestly, this is going to be a pretty small section because I really love the cel-shaded art, and every inch of the world is hand-placed and absolutely beautiful. There is a naturally occurring day and night cycle. Watching the sun rise or set is gorgeous, along with all the weather changes. It really creates a dynamic and beautiful world where characters have expressive features and distinct clothing. Colors are used in a mostly realistic manner, but they aren't afraid to have splashes of it for something more specific on occasion. I did stop to smell the roses on the regular, looking out over a cliffside that I had just reached the top of, or inspecting every inch of the interior of a cave, and I can see why Ava wanted to reach the top of it. Now for voice acting and music, it's really fucking solid. There isn't music always playing, and it's very seldomly put in there because you're left to focus on the climb, right? As if you're directly in Ava's shoes, or I guess Rap's in this case, because she doesn't really wear shoes unless she's in the cold and she puts boots on. But sometimes there's a hum or bits of music that will ring out along the journey, but not often. Mostly what you're going to hear is directly associated with your actions. Whether you're slipping off of that rock or grabbing tightly onto something, maybe smashing your boots into the ice, these are all directly from you as the player. But there's also a ton of ambient sounds as well. Birds and other animals will make noises as they scurry away. Or an animal that tries to fucking kill you, like that bear that jump scared the fuck out of me. I knew it was coming, but it still scared me, cause fuck you. Your items also make noises when you shift them around in your inventory or whenever you kind of combine them and other things like that. Other people that you meet on this journey as well are voice acted pretty perfectly in my opinion. They are mostly short and sweet with only a few things of dialogue, but it felt right for what was here, especially for their accents and for being as eccentric as they are as characters. Yet the main voice that you'll hear is the main character, Ava. She talks to herself sometimes, maybe talks to a robot companion, responding to herself when a voicemail comes through, or commenting on something that she's come across. But most of all, you'll hear her grunts and yells that she makes. When she's stressed out, she'll make a wheezing or tired noise as an audio cue. When she falls, she really does yell out, as if she's possibly gonna die. And as I've said before, I did die 20 times, so it makes sense that she's screaming as she's falling to the ground. Or just some angry grunts here and there from losing your grip and being unable to continue, starting back from that last safe spot or baton that you placed. Her voice actor pulls it all off with ease. I know in some reviews and other places on the internet I heard this as a complaint, but it's not for me. Everything in this regard made the character come to life more and more for me as I felt the same frustrations and similar emotions in the moment. And at the very end of the game, there is a beautiful song that plays. I put this on my playlist to vibe out to when making videos and such. I really enjoy it, and I think it perfectly emulates the culmination of emotions and, well, the end of Ava and her story. So for some small things I want to throw together here at the very end before we get into the final thoughts, there are a bit of items to collect along your journey. Mostly consumables, but sometimes items that assist you in your progression, batons that don't break, or larger water bottles. More storage for your chalk, or apparently there's glowing gloves that I didn't find, and a solar thermos. I don't remember if I got that one or not, but these are items that you keep throughout your journey, and it just makes it just a little bit easier throughout that climb. There's also notes and things written throughout the game that assist in the world building. I sought most of these out, and I just enjoyed being in this world and learning about the people in the place of Mount Kami. None of this is drawn out with extended pages of text, just maybe a paragraph or two for the most of them. There's also some notes for secrets or items to find that hint at specific locations, or sometimes can help you on a climb. You can also free up the camera to get a better view of your surroundings, and I use this on occasion, but it kind of felt like cheating, so I didn't use it all the time. This is also something that you can see when you complete the game. You're given a free camera that shows every single movement that you've made, where you maybe fell down or died, and how you climbed the mountain, which is a very fun and unique way of showing others or reflecting on specific sections of Kami that gave you trouble or were memorable. The developers of Cairn, the game bakers who made Haven and Fury, two games that I've also played, yet I never connected that they were made by the same people. I only learned that when researching it for this review. Fury was a game I played like almost 10 years ago, and it was pretty fucking awesome, and I remember it pretty fondly. Haven, on the other hand, was a unique experience that was mostly really heavy story driven, but in all honesty, it kind of felt like Solar Ash with a bit more story and turn-based combat. I enjoyed both for what they were, and Cairn is still the the best game that they've made in my opinion. But with that in mind, let's get into these final thoughts. So as you can tell with how wordy and lengthy this review is, I really enjoyed my time here. It took me just shy of 14 hours to complete the game, and there might have been a few moments here and there where I stepped away from my desk without it being paused or something like that. So maybe you can shave off 1, maybe 2 hours off of that total time, and that's how long it might take you to play it. But for $30, I literally could not ask for more. I've played quite a few games recently in the $20 to $30 range. This one is worth way more than $30 in my opinion, so you're getting quite a lot more game for your money. It is well worth it at full price, and Cairn is gonna be in my top 5 of the year. I don't like solidifying lists this early on, especially when I really haven't played a ton, but I do know that this one will make it near the top. I loved every single second of it, even if it was bashing my head against an extremely frustrating section. The sense of overcoming it and understanding Ava, her ideals, and the people around her. It made me reflect on a lot of things. Cairn is truly an incredible experience. It has lessons, it's challenging yet fun, it's gorgeous and meaningful, all in one. And sometimes we get a pretty incredible game out of the blue, and this one was it for me. I saw when it was initially announced like a year or so ago, but I never expected too much from it, other than maybe a pretty fun experience, but nothing more. But yet when I got done playing it, I came to realize there is so much more to this game. So with that in mind, that's going to be it for me in this review. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. If you've made it to the end here, please do all the dumb YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, yada yada, and I will see you next time.